Every year, the NCBA team works hard to bring entertaining and motivating speakers to the Cattle Industry Convention. And this year was no exception. Russell Nemetz is standing by with former astronaut Scott Kelly, who kicked things off at the opening general session.
Well, each year, the Cattle Industry Convention features some of the very best motivational speakers out there, which empower all of us to be better human beings. And this year is no exception, with U.S. astronaut Captain Scott Kelly, who among his many achievements most recently is breaking the record for the sheer amount of time spent in space. And Captain Kelly, thank you for being with us here on Cattleman to Cattleman. And first thing I want to ask you is, what drove you to become an astronaut and decide to spend an entire year's worth of time in space eventually?
Well, I was a military pilot, a test pilot in the Navy. And, you know, at a certain part in your test flying career, you're really motivated to fly the next most complicated vehicle, which in this case was the space shuttle when I became an astronaut. So it was just kind of a natural thing that, you know, at a certain point in your career, you apply. And in my case, you know, to be the pilot and then later the commander of the space shuttle. My career took a little bit of a sidetrack because after I did that, I got more involved in the long duration space flight and flew a 6-month flight. And my first long flight ended in 2011, and then NASA started talking about sending 2 people into space for a year. I thought, you know, spending a year in space would be a challenging thing to do.
Well, that's pretty cool, and we're glad that you did. So explain what your message to cattlemen and cattlewomen was here at the Cattle Industry Convention in San Antonio about that experience 229 miles above Earth.
So my talk I give is to entertain, inspire, and inform. So I have some stories that talk about my life from the time I was a little kid that started off as a very poor student, how I was able to change that, and then, you know, go on later to fly in the Navy and then at NASA as an astronaut. So the messaging I have is about doing stuff that's really hard and challenging and how I was able to do that. This kid from New Jersey that, you know, like I said, wasn't a particularly good student. And then I have stories that, you know, go into more detail on each one of those messages, and I kind of sum it up at the end. So, you know, hopefully they'll find you know, things that I have to say that they can use in their, you know, everyday lives and their businesses to help them do better.
Well, Captain Kelly, we appreciate you taking a little bit of time and joining us here on Cattleman to Cattleman.
Thank you very much.
All right, Kevin, just another great example of why the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show is simply out of this world.